for 9 games left in the regular season, like the Memphis Grizzlies. We didn't get rid of Jason here as the regular season's
It was
winding down. He's
questionable
still
whether I was going to be here making an appearance tonight or not. There's some illness in my house, so we're gonna go with it, and hopefully I make it through the podcast. Mike, that's what I'm gonna
well.
say.
We'll see. We'll see what we can do. We will.
Um,
We're on a potentially a
I,
time constraint, so we're gonna
yeah,
get right
and we don't
into it.
want to. We're not going to spend any time talking about the Guardians opening the season up, Mike. We're not going to talk about the Browns. Hey, by the way, though, I will say the one thing I did
Hey,
hear.
here's what. Wait, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
Are the Indians using torpedo bats?
and I don't know anyone that is currently on the Indians using it. It's Guardians, but it's Indians.
What?
Whatever.
Okay. Do you have a
Using
torpedo bat? Did you get
no,
one yet?
but I will say. So I heard a pitcher that you're familiar with name come up today. Greg
Let me
Maddux.
think.
Greg
Ron Guidry,
Maddux.
Greg
Greg
Maddox.
Greg
All right, all right.
Greg
What did
Maddux
Greg Maddox
because
do?
Nathan Eovaldi, a pitcher who used to be a part of the Boston Red Sox, who's a Texas Ranger now, threw a complete game shutout and threw it in under 100 pitches at 99, and that is nicknamed the Maddox because Maddox used to do
Okay,
that. So there you
I'll
go.
take it. All right, sounds good. I am familiar with Greg Maddox's work. Ivan Ho or whatever that guy is that you just named. I have no idea who
Nathan
that is. So
Eovaldi. Nathan
okay,
Eovaldi.
there you go. All right, must be pretty good, man. I never heard of him.
Yeah. All right. NBA talk. So, real quick, totals update, Mike. We'll keep it quick. It's exactly the same as it was last week. I'm up 30 with a week, with 2 weeks less than 2 weeks to play. So it's over.
All right,
If
all
it
right.
wasn't already over,
Pizza's coming, man. We got to make it happen.
yeah. All right. So there's that. Okay. The big news of the week, the big news of the week is that the Memphis Grizzlies, with 9 games left in the season, for some godforsaken reason, decided to fire Taylor Jenkins. Now, I think what would have been really funny is that they would have done it today on April Fool's Day. That would have been good. That would have been really good. I've been seeing
Sid,
lots of good
S-
April Fool's
Sid,
tweets
Sid, Sid Finch.
like I saw a bunch of tweets today like the NBA has rescinded the trade from Luka Doncic to Anthony Davis. I saw that tweet. I saw a whole bunch of stuff. I saw a lot of good stuff. But yeah, Taylor Jenkins fired. Mike, this has to be the latest in the season. The team that is like obviously. Listen, we talked about it last week. What team in the West would we want to play? Wasn't Memphis the team?
Everybody wants to play Memphis, even before the firing, but for sure.
Now, and obviously tonight they played the Warriors and Steph. And this the first game that they've played, or is this the second game they've played since Jenkins was fired?
I gotta believe it's number 2, but let's
Yeah. Well,
just
anyways,
double check
Steph
that.
Curry decided to greet their, as you called him before the podcast, Ti, with 12 threes and 52 points. Like,
Yeah, it's welcome. It's your welcome to the NBA moment, I guess. So
I don't know. Like, what is your take? Like, I don't understand this move. Like,
so there's two, I think, and I've been trying to digest this and really figure it out, and honestly, probably learned some things that I don't know if I knew before, which maybe I should have, but I didn't. Like the fact that Taylor Jenkins had to fire basically his entire coaching staff last offseason.
but no, he
And
didn't have to fire them. They just fired him.
well, that's what I'm saying. Right. That's what I'm saying. He was basically told, get rid of your coaching staff and we're bringing in new coaches or you will be you will be in the unemployment line. And so he opted to replace his coaching staff or the team. Zach Kleiman, the GM, opted to remove Taylor Jenkins' coaching staff. So I don't know that I was aware of that coming into the season, but clearly that shows that there was some type of disconnect between the front office and Jenkins. And so I've been trying to kind of piece this together based on listening to different podcasts and reading different articles
I
about
can't
it.
wait to listen to the Lowe and Simmons podcast, Mike.
That's right. It's going to be good.
2 hours. It's a 2 hour one. It's going to get you to and from work tomorrow, Mike.
It should. It definitely should. I'm looking forward to hearing Zach's voice again for sure. It's been it's been missed at least in my household by me. So look, from what I've been able to piece together, it sounds like what they wanted to do or what they surmised is that at the end of this postseason, which, as you and I just stated 5 minutes ago, where teams are going to be probably jockeying for position to play the Memphis Grizzlies in the Western Conference. I'm guessing that just about everybody is going to predict that they will be bounced in the first round, regardless of what seed they end up getting. And there's a lot of school of thought that Taylor Jenkins was going to be fired after that first round exit anyway. And so one of the schools of thought is if you're going to fire the guy a month from now when they get bounced out of the playoffs, why not do it now and get the team moving in whatever direction the front office sees fit, as opposed to continuing down the road that Taylor Jenkins was taking them. I don't know if I agree with that or I disagree with it, but that's definitely one way that you could look at it. The second thing that I heard was that basically the reason why he had to replace his coaching staff in the offseason was there was a disconnect between the way that the front office may have wanted to play and the way that Taylor Jenkins wanted to play offense. And what Jenkins did a little bit this year, and you can kind of understand it, right? As the coach, you have to adapt to the way that your personnel plays and the way that their availability is. And they sort of have developed a more egalitarian offense in Memphis with shots being spread around. Whereas in the past, when John Morant maybe was healthy and not suspended, that there was more of an emphasis on job pick and rolls. And so I think there was a philosophical difference between the way that the front office envisioned the Grizzlies playing and the way Taylor Jenkins envisioned the offense playing, envisioned the Grizzlies playing. And so could that be the reason why is that they just wanted to take the team maybe back towards a more jaw centric offense? I'm not sure if that's the way that you're trying to spin this, that makes a whole lot of sense because when you look at the number of games played for John Moran, he's hovering around. I think he's played like 300 out of 600 possible games. He's starting to creep down towards Zion territory uh, in terms of number of games played. And so you have those two potential reasons why he was fired. One, just the philosophical difference between the offense. Two, the idea that we're going to fire him anyway. He's been there. I think he was the one of the longest tenured. He would been with Memphis for 6 years, so he was
I mean,
certainly in the
like
top
you, Mike,
five.
you only look at the fact that like the like last year obviously was that was a game, it was a throwaway year, but the 2 years before that they were the second best team in both years in the conference. And then last year, I mean, you can't even fault the guy for last year. I mean, you got Jaws legal issues, you got injuries galore. Like, it's
Right. I think the
crazy.
question becomes, right? The question just becomes, are you, as the coach, in the mind of the front office, are you maximizing the talent that you've been given by the front office? And it appears that there was a belief from Zach Kleiman, the GM of Memphis, that that wasn't what was happening with Taylor Jenkins, that they were not maximizing the talent. Now, I would look at it and say, when your best player over the last 3 years has been in and out of the lineup, just to put it generously, I don't know how you can build a team. It's sort of the same argument that we've had over the New Orleans Pelicans and Zion Williamson, or you think about the LA Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. When your best player, when the guy that you are building your franchise around, the guy that you are structuring your personnel moves around, the guy that you are building an offense and a system around, when that guy is only playing 50% of the games or 40% of the games, at some point, I don't know what you do. At some point, you have to ask yourself, is this the right guy for us to continue to build around? So I also heard speculation in a couple different places of, does this mean that the Grizzlies are doubling down on Ja as their franchise player, or does this mean possibly that they're paving the way for Ja to be moved out of town? So I don't know what Coach
Well,
Ti Tomas, I forget what his how to say his last name, but Coach Ti,
Sadaransky,
no, not not Thomas Sederansky. Anyway, I just
the
when I
tank
look
engine.
at it, no, it is not. It is not either one of. It is not either one of those. I just know the one podcast. I think it was might have been group chat. They called him Coach Ti. I thought that was a good, easy way to pronounce his name.
I don't. The only
Nonetheless,
Ti I know is a rapper who got put in jail for not paying his taxes.
okay. Well, there you go. I don't think that's the same guy. I don't think we're talking about this guy. Is I believe he's from. I don't know. I forget
Isn't
where
he?
he's.
Wasn't he France? Wasn't he French?
That could be. That could very well
He
be.
was a French
I'm
national
trying to
team.
trying to find his name. I can't even find his name in this article about the firing of Jenkins. It's got to be here somewhere. Oh, where?
Memphis Grizzlies coach is
You would think his
um oh
you would think
all
his
the
you think
Google.
you would
Who
think
is the
his
new
name would
coach of the Memphis Grizzlies? Tuamas Ayasola Salo.
Isola. All right, there you go. All right, we're just gonna call him Coach Ti. Anyway, uh, so what direction is he planning to take the offense? Which obviously is the same direction that the front office wants to take it. And does this mean we're doubling down on John Morant, or we're greasing the skids for the possible trade of John Morant at some point in the not too distant future? I don't know what the answer is. Obviously, it's completely unprecedented for a team that was, I believe, fourth in a very, very difficult Western Conference to fire their head coach and replace him with 9 games remaining in the regular season with the playoffs looming. I don't know if Coach Ti is the permanent coach. I don't know if he's going to be an interim coach. I don't know if they're going to be in the market for a new coach in the offseason. But it is very, very unusual
I mean this
timing.
this is kind of like David Blatt vibes, right? Like except way later in the season.
So, yeah, I would guess to some degree. I also heard that Taylor Jenkins had, quote, lost the locker room and that specifically Morant didn't have a lot of respect for him anymore at this point.
I mean, who does Morant respect though?
I don't know. Look, has anybody taken a bigger dive in terms of their perception? Because I think back to
Well,
pre all the gun stuff and Instagram stuff with Ja, we spent a lot of time talking about just how good of a teammate he was and how much he didn't really care about scoring and how he just tried to set up his teammates and just he was set up. There's all this debate about who's the face of the league. There was a lot of speculation that Ja, because of the way he plays and his style and his leaping ability and his passing and the unselfishness and all these things, that he was just had such a positive Q rating. And since the last whatever 2 3 years, that whole aura around him has completely tanked. And I just don't know. I don't know which of all those arguments make the most sense to me, if any of them make sense to me. But clearly, whatever was going on behind the scenes in Memphis, there was a disconnect between Taylor Jenkins' vision of what the team should look like and his ability to coach it, and what the front office believed was the direction that they wanted the franchise to go. I know there were some quotes from Zach Kleiman to the effect of, we know that when we fired him, or when we're bringing in Coach Ti with 9 games to go, that there's a limited amount of practice time that we're going to have, and him being able to install things and whatever. But he basically said that what we're looking for is a clarity of direction of where we're going, which I guess that's something that's going to be passed down from Kleiman and the Grizzlies front office to Coach Ti of, hey, this is the direction we want to go, and we'll see what happens. But certainly an unprecedented move by the Grizzlies. And then I don't know. It's just like we said last week. I don't think our opinion has changed at all that teams in the Western Conference if they're going to jockey around at all, they're going to try to jockey around and see if they can't find a Memphis first round matchup for
Well,
themselves.
yeah, and Mike, so there's another question I thought about when we talk about this. So the other side of the Ja Morant coin is the Zion Williamson coin.
Okay.
And we've compared them, right? We've compared them since they came in the league, right? Who would you rather have? Who would you rather have? Okay, so now Zion's
a couple times.
So Zion's shut down now again because of an injury again. Now maybe he is injured. Maybe they're just like there's no sense of him being out there. We're out of the season. Okay, Zion's played 214 games, and maybe you've heard this because I think they talked about it on the Sunday pod, the Simmons Russillo. Do you know how many games Ja Morant's played in his career?
I think it was 301.
It's 302 now. Okay, because he played tonight. So, and that's I know that's 90 game different. That's a whole season, but when you think about it, like 3 years ago, there was a much bigger difference, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so here's this fact. I'm looking at. I saw this on Twitter today. Games played since the year 2023. Zion Williamson 129, Ja Morant 114. And you're not talking about comparing Ja to someone who's like super durable.
Yeah, well, and that was Ja got suspended, and then he got suspended, and then he came back and got injured. So
you saw Stephen A. said that the word bust comes to mind talking about Zion.
Stephen A. is trying to get into as many fights as he can. Someone took. Okay, so I know you don't follow professional wrestling. Okay, I understand that you don't follow professional wrestling, but someone created a Stephen A. versus LeBron WWE fake wrestling thing, and it's pretty funny. I'll see if I can find it and I'll send it to you. It was it was basically just LeBron smacking Stephen A. and him falling down on the ground. It was pretty funny. Yeah, I listen. I think what we're going to come away with is, and I don't even, I have to really examine like that draft. What year was that draft?
That would have been the 2019 draft.
29. So we have to like look at, we want NBA, not NFL. So like, here we go. When you look at this draft, is the 2019 draft going to go down as either one of the biggest, the worst drafts, or biggest what if draft of all time?
Right.
Okay.
All right. Read me the top 10.
Okay. Zion.
Okay.
Ja Morant.
Yep. Barrett.
RJ Barrett. DeAndre Hunter. Okay. Darius Garland. The two players on the number one team in the East.
Okay.
Jarrett Culver. The guy you and I both wanted.
I wanted Culver.
Okay. Kobe White.
Okay.
Okay, and the next three guys were all members of the Lakers at some point this season. Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura, and Cam Reddish, who's now going to China or something. I don't even know where Cam Reddish.
Poor Cam Reddish.
Okay, 11. Cameron Johnson is 11. He's been solid, right?
Okay. Yep.
PJ Washington, Tyler Heroes at 14, and then I'm looking at all these other names. Thibault, 20. Grant Williams has only been in the league that long.
Feels like he's been around a lot longer. Okay. So
Ty Jerome was 24, baby. Ty Jerome was 24.
Here you go. All right. Here's the question. Who goes number one in that draft? If you hold that draft today, does
Darius Garland
go number one?
Darius goes one. It's not even
crazy when you consider. So look, I know we've talked about Zion ad nauseum to the point where, I mean, with what with the number of games played, it's kind of crazy. But here's what I'm going to read to you. So I just found these are two Zion tweets. So Zion Williamson, career averages through 5 seasons. Okay.
This is 5 seasons as in like
Five
He's
seasons,
played.
5 seasons,
He's played.
214 games played. So really, that's like 2.5 seasons, but 214 games played, 24.7 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, 4.3 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 58.9% field goal percentage. Then the fact that went along with that tweet says LeBron and KD are the only players in NBA history with those career averages on at least 50% field goals. And Zion's shooting almost 59%. So it goes back to
Okay,
what I've said.
here's Garland's career stats. You want Garland's career stats?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, 18.8 points per game.
Okay.
Okay, 6.7 assists, 45% from the field, 39% from three, 87% from the line. That's not bad, right?
No, it's not bad at all.
And he's played 377 games. That's like 2 more seasons than Zion, basically, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Almost exactly.
Zion's final numbers from the 2024-25 season. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
30 games. 24.6 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, ties career high, 5.3 assists, career high, 1.2 steals, career high, 56% field goal percentage. So,
what's his free throw percentage? Does he shoot well from the free throw line or not?
He's like in the low 70s, I think. He's not horrible, but he's not good. So, I know I've said this a million times, but the fact remains that when Zion Williamson is healthy and on the floor, he's been historically great. He is right there with some of the best players.
Is he going to be a Hall of Famer, Mike?
He's going to have to play a lot more games, but he's certainly statistically from an average standpoint, I think you would say he's, I don't know if on pace is the right way to say, because he's going to have to play a lot more games. But look, he's a singularly unique talent. There's never been a guy that explosive at that size. And my guess is that physiologically that's part of the problem. But when he is on the floor and he is healthy, he's as dominant of a player physically as there is in the league, and probably as there has been since you go back to the days of when you had great athletes like Wilt playing against guys who weren't nearly at his.
I don't know. I saw Dylan Brooks guarding LeBron the other day. That looks pretty physical, Mike.
That probably is pretty physical. Anything with Dylan Brooks is probably involving.
Do you have any idea what I'm referencing to, or no?
No.
Oh, I'll send it to you. Yeah. Listen, I don't deny Zion's greatness, but he's got to play, Mike. That's the bottom line. He needs to play, and
no doubt
we can talk about like how great he is and all that, but like the bottom line is, like, you and I have as many playoff games as he does, right?
He's got one playing game.
That doesn't count.
It does not finish. I know.
It doesn't count, Mike. That doesn't count. I'm saying him and I have the same number of playoff games.
True. No way to deny that. If you're a Zion supporter, like I am, no way for me to dispute that. Ja or Zion, if you had to build your team around one of those two guys moving forward, which guy would you choose?
Moving forward?
Right, from today. If you just
I don't even really like my answer. My answer is probably still Ja, primarily because he's been able to get his team to the playoffs and he's able to stay relatively healthy, and he's got a track record that he can at least be healthy. Now, this will open a whole new analytics competition between, do I trust Ja Morant more to stay away from bad situations, or do I trust Zion to eat right, stay away from the buffet, and stay healthy? I don't know what the answer is to these questions, Mike. But I think that I have to go with what's been done in the 5 years or 6 NBA seasons that they've played. And I probably have to lean Ja, but I think it's close, purely because I don't know that I can trust Ja to keep his head above water. But that's probably where I'm going. I know you're probably going to go the other way, because
Ja Morant, no suspension this year. Do you know how many games? Do you know how many games he's played?
he's missed a lot. I want to say he's played 40.
45.
Okay.
Been injured a lot and was injured a lot last year. Remember, he came back.
How many
from
games has Zion
suspension
played, Mike? 30.
No doubt. But the argument in the past for Ja Morant was Ja Morant plays all the time. And even though Zion's peak might be higher than Morant's, you could count on Morant to play all the time. Well, that ship has sort of
He still played
sailed to some
15
degree.
more games, Mike.
Still played 15 more games, but I wouldn't necessarily be excited to start my franchise around either one of these guys at this point. But I still think that the upside of Zion Williamson is higher than the upside of
Okay,
Ja Morant.
let's play this from that same draft. Would you rather have Darius Garland than either of those guys?
The answer to that is yes, with the caveat that if Darius
Zion's
Garland is
ceiling is higher than Darius Garland's.
right, correct. But I'm just saying, if Darius Garland is your best player, if he's your franchise player, what are you if Darius Garland is your best player? On the Cavs right now, he's their second slash third best player.
Third best player. Third best player. He's not the second.
I would say, yeah, you're probably right. So he's the third best player on a championship contending team. If he's your best player, where do you top out at? Is him being your best player similar to Ja Morant if he's given the same level of freedom and responsibility? And if you took Donovan Mitchell off the Cavs and just put the team, gave Darius Garland the car keys, would Darius Garland
Well, we
stats
saw
be
that
better?
we saw that in the playoffs last year, right?
His
But
stats be better. But you also have to keep in mind, right, that prior to Donovan Mitchell arriving, Darius Garland had an all-star season at age 20 or 21.
yeah.
And you have to think that his ascendancy would have probably continued from a statistical standpoint. So I don't know how good you are if Darius Garland's your best player. I think if you have a healthy Zion Williamson, I think that's a guy who could be the best player on a championship team.
Would you rather have Ty Jerome than John Morant? Just kidding.
I still probably would rather have Ja than Ty Jerome,
I know,
as good as Ty Jerome has been for the Cavs. But so it's an interesting debate. I have no idea why we're talking about one team that's going to get bounced in the first round and another team that's going to be in the lottery. But it was a good rabbit hole to go down. It's always fun to talk Zion Williamson, and I know we got on it through the Morant Memphis thing. The Grizzlies firing of Taylor Jenkins, I don't want to say it makes no sense because in a way I do understand if you're going to fire him in a month, why not just do it now and see if you can't change the vibe of the team and get them moving in a different direction. I mean, Memphis isn't going to win a title. They know that. So what did they have to lose if they thought we're going to fire this guy come middle of May? Why not just get rid of him now? So that argument to me at least makes some degree of sense. And Memphis hasn't played well in 6 weeks. I think their only wins against the top maybe 8 in the West where they had 2 wins against Minnesota. Otherwise, they were like 0-11 or something against the top 10 teams or top 9 teams in the West, something like that. So they've been trending in the wrong direction, and everybody's going to be lining up to play Memphis. Let's put it this way, regardless of who the coach is. I don't think it really matters.
All right. Okay. We spent 30 minutes talking about this, Mike. So we're gonna see how much further we.
The call is going to be coming out for you in just a second. So let's see
Oh,
what else we got.
yeah. So I guess we said we really have any Cavs discussions. We're going to skip the Cavs this week. We'll talk about the Cavs next week. I guess what playoff situation do you want to talk about for the 10-ish minutes that we probably have left in this podcast, Mike?
Let's talk Detroit, Indiana, Milwaukee.
Oh, we got to talk the fight. We got to talk the Brew.
That at least impacts. That at least marginally impacts the Cavs. So I think when you start looking at the fact Detroit's only a game up on Milwaukee, did they announce the suspensions yet?
Yes, Isaiah Stewart got suspended for 2 games. All the rest of the people got suspended for 1.
So that's pretty light penalty.
Oh, wow, it's such a light penalty, and it's got to be because the NBA knows that they don't want these. Listen, here's the deal. Isaiah Stewart. Here's what I would have laid him. He's gotten into a lot of nonsense lately, right? He's gotten into a lot of nonsense. Like
beef stew, man.
They because they've got a problem on their hands now. Because if he does something else, he's Draymond affecting now, right? He's Draymonding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if Draymond does what Isaiah Stewart does, he gets 5 games, if not more, right? Because he's got a history. So now if Isaiah Stewart even like looks at someone wrong, he's got to get some kind of penalty, like something, because if he does something bad like this, like they can't just slap. He's basically getting a slap on the wrist. And like, I don't know. It's just, so he got 2 games. DiVincenzo got 1. A bunch of the other guys got, let's see.
What about the pizza man? How many games did he get suspended?
What are you talking about?
Pablo Prigioni.
I'm pretty sure everyone got 1 game. Everyone got 1 game.
JB got 1 game.
4 players got 1. 4 players got 1. Oh, here we go. Isaiah Stewart got 2 games. Marcus Sasser, Ron Holland, Dante DiVincenzo, and Naz Reid all got 1 game. Everyone else is clear.
So no suspension for Bickerstaff and Prigioni, just got thrown out of the games.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I see right here. Bickerstaff and Prigioni were among those ejected, but didn't receive suspensions. Obviously, things went too far, JB Bickerstaff said after the game. But what you see is guys looking out for one another, guys trying to protect one another, guys trying to have each other's backs. Those are non-negotiables in our locker room. Beef stew, getting it done. Okay, so here's the question in this little area. Obviously, the brawl, ridiculous, and the fact that it spilled so close to the stands, and there was some crazy behavior in that particular incident from DiVincenzo and Beef Stew. Sasser was getting in there. Naz Reid had to be held back. It was a wild situation.
Oh, by the way, Mike, just so I just saw this video. John Morant may have pointed guns at people and pretended to shoot them during the game tonight. So could he be suspended for that?
That's not good. That's not good. It's not good.
While he's getting dropped 52 points. I sent you the video. I literally just pulled up Twitter because I was trying to look at the suspensions, and I just sent it to you, Mike.
Let me take a look here. Oh yeah, well, we could have been just doing the point. I don't know. I'm not sure what the.
Oh no! I mean, Draymond saying if that was me, I would have gotten suspended.
It's funny. Well, Josh shouldn't put anything in a gray area that's anywhere near any firearms. Let's put it that way. All right, here's my question for you.
Yeah.
So, am I crazy for thinking that of those 3 teams, Indiana, Detroit, and Milwaukee, am I crazy that I think now I might want to most play the Pacers?
I mean, they're going to score, but they're going to give up a lot of points, right?
Yeah. Here's why.
I want to play Milwaukee. I want to play Milwaukee. Second round. Okay,
I don't think
Dame's not
I don't
coming
think
back.
yeah, I don't
Dame,
think Milwaukee can beat the Cavs.
no, they
I
can't.
just
Giannis is probably going to get hurt. Dame is Dame is going to have not be back, and if he is back, he's not going to be 100%. Then I mean, they haven't even given a timeline for him to return to any kind of physical basketball activities. He's not doing anything, so he's not going to be in any kind of shape. Give me Milwaukee. I'm taking Milwaukee over Indiana, just because I like you take. I mean, am I going to be afraid of Kyle Kuzma? If I'm afraid of Kyle Kuzma, then the Boston Celtics are going to walk all over us. Okay,
here's
give
my
me the
thought
Bucks.
process. Here's
You,
my thought process.
you can tell me your thought process, but you're wrong. Go ahead.
I might be wrong, and I might not even be in agreement with my own argument. But when I think about Milwaukee and I think about Giannis, and you obviously think about just his physicality, and I don't think him alone would be enough to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. But if Giannis is healthy, I could see him easily putting up Giannis averages 42 a game in that series. Like that to me is totally reasonable and in play with the Cavs match up with Milwaukee, which it doesn't look like is going to happen because they're currently in 6, but who knows? Detroit, just the physical nature of the Pistons, thinking about the brawl, thinking about the teams and games that have made the Cavs look bad over the last 2 years. I think about that whole Knicks series 2 years ago. I think about that recent Clippers game. I think about the recent game against Detroit, where teams that are really big and physical and willing to bang and knock you around and not put up with stuff. I feel like those are the teams that have given the Cavs the most trouble. And Indiana really doesn't have anybody who fits that bill. Miles Turner used to have a pretty good defensive reputation. I think that's taken a pretty huge hit in the last couple of years in terms of he's more from a guy who was considered to be mostly defense, no offense, or little offense. And now he's shifted to a mostly offense, little to no defense guy. And Indiana might have the most talent across the board of any of those teams. And obviously, they made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. But something about dealing with Giannis for 7 games if he's healthy, and then just the sort of semi crazy nature of that Pistons team. I'm not saying I'm rooting for the Cavs to get the Pacers, and I think they would beat any one of those 3 teams, but each one of those teams presents sort of a unique matchup. And when I look at the Cavs and I look at the teams that have given them trouble, I just feel like teams that have a big physical front line, even though when you think about Allen and Mobley and just the fact that they've been so good as a pairing defensively protecting the rim, I still feel like the Cavs are vulnerable to sort of that big beef stew prototype, right? The guy that's just a big body that is not afraid to mix it up and toss guys around. And Zubats is sort of the same way. And obviously Giannis fits that bill, but at a much higher skill level. And I feel like the Cavs struggle with players and teams like that. And that's why in the back of my mind, I think the Indiana is probably the best of those 3 teams. But as far as the individual matchup, I think there's a case to be made that Indiana might be the best matchup because, as you said, they're going to score a lot of points, but they're also going to let you score. And I think the Cavs offense going against the Pacers defense over 7 games would give the Pacers some trouble. But it was just a thought exercise of me thinking about just the physical nature of teams and how the Cavs have struggled with that.
Okay, I'm not worried about Giannis because he can't be on the floor for 48 minutes, and Brook Lopez is not intimidating me, and Bobby Portis is going to be coming off a suspension. Give me Milwaukee. The end.
Okay.
I think Detroit's the team I want the least, honestly. Right?
Yeah.
They're
I can see
which
that.
is crazy because we would have. I mean, we other than the game we just lost to them, we had beaten them out the other times we played them this year. But I just thought, just don't give me Detroit. I don't want them. So
I get it.
All right, Mike. I've got like maybe 2 minutes. Any last words you want to say? Uh, uh,
Well,
any questions you want to pose to me before?
okay. Shout out to the Bulls Josh Giddey trade.
That's a
Good,
heck of a
bad,
shot.
and
That's a heck of a
good,
shot that he hit the other night.
good, bad, and different on Josh Giddey. Where do you stand?
I mean, the Bulls are terrible. So I mean, good for him. Bad or good for them probably because he's probably their
Indifferent.
best player.
You're
But
indifferent.
indifferent because I think if you asked him, he would probably. I mean, maybe not because he wasn't in a good role in Oklahoma City, but I would much rather be winning than in Chicago. I don't know.
Okay. Next question. If you're Oklahoma City right now, sitting in the 7 and 8, Minnesota and the Clippers, which one of those teams would you rather
Minnesota.
not see?
Oh,
You
which I
want
would rather
Minnesota?
not see. I'd rather not see the Clippers, right?
Kawhi's healthy. I think the Clippers look. They still have James Harden, so I don't know how seriously we can take the LA Clippers. But I have heard the point made, and I think it's a valid one that when you look back to the Houston James Harden or even the Sixers James Harden, he was counted upon to be a big time scorer in big games. And if Kawhi is healthy, you no longer have to have James Harden having huge scoring numbers. Now he's still going to have to handle the ball and be a facilitator, but Norm Powell is averaging like 25 a game and feels like his regular season has been legit, and I would expect that to continue. And we all know what Kawhi is capable of doing if he's healthy. The Clippers, if Kawhi is on the floor, are going to be a tough out for whoever they get in the first round matchup if they make it through the play-in, which it appears like I guess they're only a game out of fifth. So the standings could change at any moment. Memphis may be falling into the play-in sooner rather than later. Um, yeah, I think if I'm Oklahoma City, I probably man, I, you look at any one of those teams in the West, and obviously you can cross out Dallas and Sacramento. Anybody, if those two teams somehow were to sneak into the 7 or 8 seed, Oklahoma City and Houston would be ecstatic to be able to match up with Dallas or Sacramento as opposed to
Yep.
Minnesota and the Clippers. But really, when you look at that entire Western Conference playoff lineup, there's really nobody you'd be excited to play except for Memphis. You go to the Clippers and you're dealing with Kawhi and Norm Powell and Zubats inside and whatever you get from James Harden. The Timberwolves, you got Gobert at the rim, you got Anthony Edwards, you got the other just huge defenders. You got DiVincenzo shooting the ball better than he has for the entire season. Golden State, we know what they've been since they brought in Butler. Do you really want to deal with Luka and LeBron for the Lakers? Denver's got Jokic. Houston, although they don't have that one singular guy, defensively they've been as good as anybody in the league for the last 6 weeks, and they just continue to win games. It's a gauntlet in the Western Conference, and I'm glad the Cavs are in the East, and hopefully their path, at least to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, is a little bit smoother than anything anybody in the West is going to have to go through. Like it wouldn't. I don't think Oklahoma City is going to lose in the first round, but if they play Minnesota or the Clippers, which seems likely, I don't think that's a 4-0 cakewalk. Let's put it that way.
Okay, I agree. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, Mike. I'm getting the bad signal.
Okay, we'll leave it there. We will come back next week. I think our gimmick for next week's going to be ranking the best, second best, and third
Oh,
best players
maybe what we
on
need.
playoff
Maybe what
teams.
we need to do next week, Mike, is talk about who we think is the best, second best, and third best, instead of just because you and I might have disagreements on that. We might have to do that first. I don't know, or
We might,
think
or
about
maybe
that.
we do that. Maybe we do that pre-pod, come up with a consensus, and then rank them from there. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Anyway,
Okay.
we appreciate you joining us tonight for this NBA episode of the Hoopheads podcast. Jason, is going to go attend to his under the weather family members. And I'm going to sign off. So thanks for checking out this episode, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks.
All right, I'm out of here, man. Hey,
Okay.
I sent you the Dylan Brooks. He's like humping. He's humping LeBron. You didn't see that?
I didn't see it. Let me see it here.